Max in the Broken Promise. Max was the kind of kid whose brain had more tabs open than his laptop. Ideas popped into his head like popcorn fast, loud, and occasionally buttery. He could turn a shoebox into a spaceship, a sock into a puppet, and a boring afternoon into an indoor roller derby. Jay, on the other hand, was calm like a cat in a sunbeam. He was steady, smart, and the only person who could keep up with Max's wild imagination without needing a helmet. That afternoon, the two best friends were sitting cross-legged on Max's bedroom floor, surrounded by Lego bricks, carefully constructing the Galactic Pizza Rocket, a spaceship powered by pepperoni. Jay reached for a blue piece and said, "Hey, don't forget your promise. You said you'd help me set up my art table for the school fair tomorrow." Max struck a superhero pose and declared, "Of course I won't forget. I promise on my super deluxe cheese sandwich." Jay smiled. "You better not break that promise. That sandwich sounds serious." Max nodded. "Only the cheesiest of oaths for my best mate." They high-fived. The rocket took shape. The promise was made. But promises, like Lego towers, sometimes fall apart when you're not looking. The next day, Max woke up excited. Not because of the school fair, but because something unexpected was happening. His neighbor, Leo, knocked on the door just after breakfast. "Max, we're having a surprise football game down at the park. My cousin brought cake. Come on!" Max's eyes lit up like birthday candles. "Football and cake? I'm in!" He ran outside, completely forgetting his promise to Jay. The park was full of kids, music, laughter, and even a bright red parrot squawking from a nearby tree. The parrot kept shouting, "Pass the ball, matey!" in a pirate voice, which made everyone laugh. Max played goalie, then striker, then cake sampler. There was a chocolate one, shaped like a football, and a lemon one with actual glitter. Time zipped by like a rocket. At one point, Max glanced at the sky. The sun was already low. "I should probably," he started, but then someone yelled, "One more match," and he stayed. Later that evening, as Max walked home, his trainers muddy and his pockets full of cake crumbs, he passed by the school. That's when he saw him. Jay, alone, dragging heavy boxes into the hall. No decorations, no signs, just him, red-faced and struggling. Max stopped. His stomach, once happy and full, sank like a stone. I forgot," he whispered to himself. "I promised." He stood there, frozen, unsure if he should run over or run away. Jay looked up for a second and saw him, but didn't wave, didn't smile, just went back to lifting. Max's heart ached. The fun, the football, the cake. It all felt a little sour now. Because Max realized something important. When you forget a promise, especially to someone who counts on you, it doesn't just disappear. It leaves a mark. And this one was starting to hurt. Max ran toward the school hall, his breath quick and his heart even quicker. Jay, I'm so sorry," he panted. Jay didn't look angry. He didn't even frown. He just wiped his hands on his jumper and said quietly, "It's okay. I should have known." That sentence hit Max like a brick to the chest. Not because Jay yelled, not because he was mean, but because he wasn't. Jay had expected it, and expected Max to forget. And that hurt more than anything. Max opened his mouth to explain, to say there was football and cake and parrots yelling like pirates, but the words didn't feel good enough. Not now. Jay turned back to his table and began taping up a sign by himself. Max took a slow step back, then another, and walked away. The cheering from the park felt far away now, like it belonged to someone else. That night, Max lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He wasn't thinking about football. He wasn't thinking about the cake. He was thinking about his friend, lifting boxes alone. Because Max didn't show up, he replayed Jay's words again and again. "I should have known." It wasn't just about forgetting. It was about letting someone down, someone who counted on him. And Max decided he was going to make it right. Somehow. Max didn't sleep much that night. His brain was too full of thoughts. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jay dragging boxes, alone. He remembered the promise, and how he broke it. By morning, Max had made up his mind. He was going to fix even if it meant waking up earlier than the sun. He rolled out of bed before his alarm, tiptoed past his still snoozing cat, and grabbed a backpack. Inside, he stuffed a roll of sparkly tape, a packet of stickers shaped like planets, 2 leftover glow sticks from his last birthday, and, most importantly, a giant piece of cardboard. He zoomed out the door with a banana in one hand and his backpack bumping on his back like a second head. By the time he reached the school hall, it was still quiet. Not a single student in sight. Perfect. Max stood in front of Jay's half-finished art table. It looked lonely, just a pile of sketches, a few paints, and a handmade sign that had curled at the edges. Max got to work. First, he straightened the sign and added sparkly tape around it. Then he arranged the art supplies in rainbow order, even if he got the blues and purples mixed up. Next came the decorations. He stuck planets to the corners of the table and cracked open a glow stick, tucking it into a jar of pencils for cosmic lighting. Finally, he pulled out the cardboard and wrote in big, bold letters, "Jay's amazing art by the coolest kid I forgot to help yesterday." He added a smiley face and a cheese sandwich, just for fun. Max stood back and looked at the table. It wasn't perfect, but it was bright, welcoming, joyful, and most importantly, ready. Just then, the doors creaked open. Jay walked in, holding a sketchbook under his arm. His eyes widened when he saw the table. "Whoa," he said softly. "What is all this?" Max stepped forward, nervous. "It's my make it right." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I broke the promise. I got distracted, and then I just forgot. But I didn't forget how important you are, so I wanted to fix it, even if I'm late." He pointed to the sign. "One late favor at a time." Jay looked at the table again, then at Max. Then he smiled. "Okay," he said, "but you're still making me that super deluxe cheese sandwich." Max laughed. "Extra cheese, promise." Jay reached out and they bumped fists. The fair hadn't even started, but Max already felt like a winner. Because fixing a promise doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means showing up, taking action, and choosing your friend Devin when it's hard. And Max had finally remembered what really mattered. Jay looked around the freshly decorated art table, his art supplies neatly stacked, sparkly tape gleaming under the hall lights, and a handmade sign that read, "Jay's amazing art by the coolest kid I forgot to help yesterday." He snorted, then grinned. "You know," Jay said, shaking his head, "you owe me one." Max gave a sheepish smile. "Only one?" Jay pointed to the doodle of a cheese sandwich Max had drawn in the corner of the sign. "And one of those," he added, "super deluxe." Max gave him a salute. "Double cheese, triple apology, I'll even throw in crisps." They laughed. Not the awkward kind of laugh that tries to cover a mistake, but the real kind. The kind that says, "We're okay now." And they were. The school fair buzzed to life an hour later. Students ran around with glitter on their cheeks, juice boxes in hand, and paint on their noses. But the best part of the day? Jay's table. It was the brightest one in the hall, not just because of the glow stick pencil jar or the sparkly stickers, but because 2 best friends stood behind it, side by side, like nothing had come between them. Well, except for one forgetful moment. Max thought about that. He thought about how easy it had been to say, "I promise," and how hard it was to actually keep one. He had learned something important, something that didn't come in a textbook or a maths worksheet or even on YouTube. He had learned that promises are not just about saying yes. They're about showing up, even when it's not easy, even when there's football, even when there's cake, even when a parrot is yelling, "Pass the ball, matey!" from a tree. A promise is about choosing someone else over your own convenience. It's about remembering that your word matters especially to the people who trust you the most. Max knew he might still forget things sometimes homework, where he left his jumper, how many snacks he already ate today. But from now on, he'd remember this. When you make a promise to a friend, you're not just giving your word, you're giving a piece of your heart. And hearts? They deserve to be looked after. Moral of the story: when you make a promise, it's not just about remembering, it's about choosing someone else over your own convenience. Like this story? Follow for more adventures with Max and lessons that stick. Subscribe for more stories that help kids grow kinder, braver, and smarter every day. Because one story can change how a child thinks, and one lesson can last a lifetime. See you in the next adventure, PP!